What is going on, everybody? Boilon here, and welcome back to another video on Lord of the Rings Home. So, normally I don't put out videos this quick back to back, but we got some interesting news today, and I waited a little bit before doing this video because there was a lot of editing and things going on with the blogs that were put out this morning, and it took a few hours, maybe even 3 hours, I don't know how long it was, until they actually finished doing all of the editing. So some of the information that some of the other content creators put out may have been, I didn't watch their videos, but it could be confusing if you didn't wait, because there's a lot of editing and adjustments that were made to these blogs, not just the Elrond blog, but also the Elladan blog. So there is now news that Elladan may not be as strong as I thought he was in the previous video, and we're going to talk about that and more in today's. So if you're ready to go, everybody, then let's boil this down. Now we're going to start with the Elladan blog, the Elrond blog post, and then we're going to double back to Elladan, and then we're going to take a look at my team again, and kind of let you guys know what I'm doing and what's going on with me. So here we are, Lord Elrond is coming to the team. Now, there were some funny shenanigans going on when they talked about his traits, because he had listed, I believe, as a sword user, and people were like, where's that sword? Is it hidden in his staff? So I think that they fixed that part as well. So you can see here, you can see that his traits are listed. So Light, Elf, Rivendell, Healer, and Staff. I think the original blog post mentioned sword, so a lot of people were a bit confused about that one. But nonetheless, here we are. And what's really important is his kit. Now, I don't think, compared to his beta kit, I'm actually not sure if a lot was changed, but obviously they added in the Elrond leader ability, which is going to be so important with this full team that we're going to take a look at. So here's the animations, him smacking an orc. There we go. So at max is kind of what I'm looking at. Now, I know that not everyone's going to have a maxed out ability. You know, I don't even have anyone at level 6 yet, but regardless, I kind of want to look at like what it's going to do later on. Attack the target for 170% damage. Grant 1 stack of regeneration for 2 turns to the most wounded squad member. So this is pretty good. I mean, it would have been... I guess they don't really have 2 stacks of regen for 2 turns. Like, that's kind of bordering Marvel Strike Force kind of later down the line. So I think very early on we're going to see some pretty tame kits. You know, it's not going to be super power crept. So we're only getting 1 stack of regen for 2 turns, not like multiple stacks of regen for a turn, because sometimes that can really just start adding up, right? The special Villia's Light. Now, this is what makes Elrond Elrond. So he is the only character in the game currently, of course, and in the beta, that could revive a character from being dead. Now, it's on a cooldown of 4, which is very, very strong, believe it or not. So this is, even in Arena, this is something that you could probably use more than once. Heal all squad members for, this is the beginning, we want to look at the max one. Squad members for 15%. What's really important, though, is actually between the unlock and the maxed out, it's only going from 13% healing to 15%. So that's pretty interesting. And even the base unlock has the revive elf part, which is really, really cool. Let's look at the rest, though. So grant protection for 1 turn and 1 stack of regen for 1 turn to the most wounded squad member. So I don't know if this includes the person that he's going to revive, if that's necessarily the most wounded squad member, but protection is a very hard buff to come by. Protection is basically defense up for those of you from Marvel Strike Force, aka your defense is going up. So this is only actually received by a few characters in the game. And the only other character off the top of my head that actually grants protection is Goblin Chef. And he only does that to Goblin characters. So this is it's only going to 1 character. It's not the full team. I feel like if it was the full team, it'd be kind of broken. There's like basically nobody that grants protection in this game. So this alone is probably a pretty big thing. And then, of course, he's reviving elf allies 65% of their max health. And if there are no elf allies to revive, he gains 2 stamina for this back. So if he's not reviving anyone, he's still doing the healing and still doing the buffs, and he gets 2 energy back. And so you're only having to wait 2 more turns to redo this again. So in terms of the sustain and the healing potential for, say, hypothetically, for the Mines of Moria and raids, I think that there's going to be a pretty good possibility that this is also going to be high up on the list for meta categories for both raids and arena. And his special 2, the Wrath of Rivendell, that's the wave, that's the river. It does more, you can just watch that right there. it's in the game already, but here, there's a cutscene, at least, so that's kind of cool. He gets his own cutscenes. He's a legendary character, so this is a very high cost ability. Attacks all enemies for 130% damage. Now, the disappointing thing is that they removed the part where it does extra damage to shadow enemies. This was the kind of the beta version of it. Attack all enemies for 280 and reduce their turn meter by 6% per boon on self. Now, this includes stackable boons. We're going to talk about this later with Elladan, because it has been confirmed to me that, yes, the clarification of what consists of a boon is basically anything, unique or otherwise, but anything that stacks also counts as a boon. And again, we'll talk about that when we get back to Elladan's updated blog post. Up to a max of 5, though, of course, for 30%. So it's not like unlimited, but it's still, anyways, in terms of what counts as a boon, it's very broad-ranging. Basically anything, more or less. So that shouldn't be too hard to do. And it inflicts slow for 2 turns. AoE slow for 2 turns. That's huge in a turn-based game. Like, I'm super excited. Of course, I know what people are going to say. You know, Elrond is not free to play. He's not really. He's not a free-to-play obtainable character. But I would argue that light spenders could be able to get him. You know, I think the price range is somewhere around $100 to $150 that you're probably looking at least to get one of the characters, one of the marquees to 5-star. But we'll talk about that more. Passive. So on turn, heal the most wounded squad member for 7% of this character's max health and grant them 1 stack of counterattack. So this is quite nice. We'll talk about this in relation to Elladan later on, because it's a stack, which means it could go up. The first time this character drops below 40% health, gain 1 stack of Unbreakable. That's basically death-proof. If you're from Marvel Strike Force, you're not going to get killed. For each Rivendell ally still alive. So if you're targeting down Elrond, and and that's what you're doing, then he's going to have 4 stacks of Unbreakable when he drops. If everyone else is still alive and you're just trying to get Elrond down. So pretty crazy. His leader ability also pretty crazy, and why this is going to be so much better than having Halbarad, at least as long as you have him unlocked. Elrond unlocked. On Rivendell's squad member turn, if they have no Banes, gain Fortitude for 1 turn. That is resistance. That's an enhancement of resistance. So just for those of you who are unaware of that buff, it's not super common. And extended the duration of 2 boons by 1 turn on Rivendell's squad member's turn. That's crazy, and that's not all. Elf squad members gain 4% damage per boon, up to a max of 5 for 20% damage. So that's a pretty hefty damage boost across the team, where they're all chucking boons out left and right at each other, whether it's from Elrond, whether it's from Arwen, Arwen's passive. Elladan's kit also has deadly to other members, and then if you happen to just use them with other light characters, including the elves as well, plus 10% max health. So a very broad character that a lot of the leader ability is specific to Rivendell, but a lot of the other stuff actually, in fact, you can only revive elves, but nonetheless, very, very powerful character. Going to be able to be used wherever, and he's going to be super incredibly strong. And when is he coming? Well, he's going to be in 2 weeks, because his event starts on Monday, June 26th. That's exactly 2 weeks from now, and it's going to last for, I believe that's a week, July the 3rd. So a 7-day event. So you have 21 days to get your characters ready to do this event. Now, obviously, the earlier the better if you're trying to climb up the arena ranks, but yeah, that's what's going to be happening here. And it is confirmed that you do need 5 of the 6 available elves, and you're going to need them at 5-star. There was some confusion about this, because when the blog officially, when it first went out this morning, I don't know, it was going back and forth between like 3-star and 4-star. But yeah, you do need to get to 5-star in order to unlock Elrond. Here are the list of the rewards here. Obviously, you need 310 shards, which is going to come out of tier 5. So that's what you're going to need. Now, let's go back to Elladan. Now, we talked about Elladan the other day, and the special 2 was wrong. It was wrong. I believe that this icon and the animation stuff is still wrong. I pointed that out earlier on. But specifically, the damage that Elladan does is less. So we've kind of been, I wouldn't say nerfed, but so this was the beta damage. The 300% that you saw in the previous video was beta damage. Now it's been changed to 220. So it is an 80% drop. But I do want to kind of point out that it's still a very good skill, because in what counts for a boon, Provoke counts as a boon for this. Okay? Stackable provokes count as boons. If he's got 3 stacks of provoke just from the special or whatever, however many he provokes he still has after using a special, you know, he is going to have that, and that's going to count towards him for getting his stamina back. And he only needs 4 buffs total in order to get this back. And this is going to be very easy to accomplish as long as he's paired with characters like Arwen, Elrond, of course. And you could even use some of your Rohan characters if you don't have everyone ready to go, like Éowyn and Eothane. Eothane gives counterattack, Éowyn gives might. So there's all sorts of ways for him to get more buffs to be able to do this back to back. Now, the nerfing, I don't want to call it a nerfing, the adjustment to 220. So what's interesting about that, though, of course, is that if you do have Elrond on your team, it's still going to do a fair bit, because if you do get that 20% adjustment, then you're kind of looking at 220 times 1.2. That it's going to be like a 264% damage hit. So while it's not 300 and it's not as much, you can sort of bridge the gap a little bit if you do have Elrond unlocked. Regardless, though, no character has a way of doing this back to back to back like Elladan potentially has, and I still think that this is going to be really broken. He also has... Oh, actually, you know what? Now I think about it, I didn't look at this, but I think that the passive was adjusted to 70% chance to gain Nimble. I believe that it was also 100% in the previous blog reading when I did the video. So this part looks like it was changed as well. That one's a little bit disappointing, I must admit, because guaranteed Nimble is on turn is probably maybe a little bit too strong. But I wanted to point that out anyways, because that would have given you a guaranteed buff to go into the ultimate with. So, you know, you would always have the Nimble, and I guess not necessarily is the case anymore, but I don't think that it's still going to be that hard for you to get 4 boons to get that to go off for Elladan. I'm still looking forward to it. I still think he's going to be this week, and it's very, I don't know, it may be Thursday, because that's when Arwen came out the other 2 weeks. That would make sense to me, just to be consistent. So yeah, that was the news updates. Now, to kind of show you what's going on with my character and what I'm doing again. Now, I just showed this the other day, so there's not a lot of change, but I'm having, because I do want Elrond when he comes out, which is in 14 days. And this is a lot of farming. So the average drop rate of the characters on the nodes are about 4 shards. Not every time you're going to get 4 shards. So I'm 130 shards and 119 shards of Lomian. But there is the login calendar still. And for those of you who are trying to get shards and trying to push for this in terms of, like, you know, how much you need to farm, we do have the June login calendar, of course. And for me, anyways, there's still 37 Lomian shards up for grabs, and there is 22 Leliel shards up for grabs. Now, I'm still day 13 to day 30. There's still 18 days. So this is going to be finishing like throughout the Elrond event. But it does mean that I do need to farm Leliel a little bit more, because I'm a bit behind on her shards as opposed to Lomian, who I'm going to get more of. So I need to do 130 shards, and what I want is 14 days, which is going to be... Oh, wait, no, sorry. There was some in there. What did I say? 22? So I need like 108 divided by 14 days. So I need about 7 shards per 8 shards per day, rounding up, which is basically running it twice. But I think what I might do, and I know that this is not going to be available for everyone, but I am probably, because I want to get Elrond, you know, like when his event comes out, I'm doing 2 refreshes on Leliel. I'm doing 1 refresh on Lomian and 2 refreshes on Leliel. So that does suck, because that's a total of 100 gems that I'm just spending on refreshes, plus the 150 gems that I'm spending per day on the energy, which brings me to 250 gems daily over 14 days. That is 3,500 gems that I have to spend just on refreshing and farming. And then I still need to get Elladan unlocked and get him to 5-star. So what that says to me is that I'm probably going to have to buy the 4-star Elladan pack, and I'm going to have to buy another gem pack to open up those chests to get Elladan to 5-star. So I'm probably looking at another $100 because these gems won't last me forever. I'll probably need to compensate, I don't know, an extra... What are the gem packs for Canadian dollars? Maybe this one. Probably, or 2 of these or something, I don't know. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for the coming week, and especially going into Elrond. But I said I was going to do it because I honestly think that even if you don't get Elrond, I think this is going to be such a crazy meta. I think the free-to-play way to go would be to go Elrohir, Arwen, Elladan, and then trying to compensate. You could use Lomian, but honestly, I don't plan on using Lomian unless I have Elrond. So I think that for those of you who have been using the existing meta, I think you can for sure use characters like Eowyn, who I mentioned, I believe, in the previous video, Eowyn and Eothane. I think that they will still be sufficient for using the other 3 characters free to play, and I think that's probably the best move as well. I know they're all light characters. You could use some of your old shadow characters like Ugluk and Ironhide, which are quite popular in the arena, but I want to use Eowyn and Eothane because they do provide extra boons for Elladan to kind of keep going with that ultimate spam. So we'll see what ends up happening, though. Really excited, actually, for the rest of the week. I hope it comes soon. Also, we need a version update. We need to get Elladan and Elrond into the game, so hopefully that's going to be coming this week too, sooner rather than later. So that's the end of this video, everyone, and until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later on the next Lord of the Rings home video. Boilon signing out.